And we are live. It is that time, Scott. Every 4 years it comes around, the World Cup. We've been waiting for this day. We've had a terrible season with West Ham, so now we can concentrate on England trying, hopefully, to win the World Cup. It kicks off tonight. Mexico versus South Africa, 8 o'clock. And then we have 48 nations trying to win this World Cup. 104 games in 39 days. You just can't get rid of football, Scott. And this, mate, you look. First of all, are you actually looking forward to this World Cup?
Do you know what, mate? I have been. I've been really looking forward to this. It's annoying me a bit with where it's being held and the pain in the backside the weather seems to be, as we saw last night. But I have, like, the kids have got the sticker books. We've got the wall chart up. Both boys are really into it this year. They're loving it. So, mate, yeah, this is going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one.
I'll be honest. I wasn't really looking forward to it. Like, obviously, I love watching tournament football. I've supported England all my life. I watch all the games. I watch the friendlies, the qualifiers. Always have, always will. But I just think because of the kickoff times, I haven't really got into the spirit. But last night, sitting up watching that friendly, I was thinking, do you know what? I'm actually now looking forward to it. And I've just been watching the opening ceremony. Our World Cup starts on Wednesday when we take on Croatia. But do you know what? Once the tournament starts, it's just every day is going to be football on. It's just weird times, weird kickoff times. But look, it's the biggest World Cup in history. As I said, there's 48 teams in this tournament. There's an extra round in this World Cup as well. So, yeah, it's I'm looking forward to it, mate. But look, the main thing we're going to talk about tonight is England. Can we win it? We are one of the favourites. I think it's us, Spain, France, and Argentina that the bookies have got as favourites. Watching this, let's talk a little bit about the friendly last night. So we took on Costa Rica. What did you make of it? I mean, I was very impressed with Anthony Gordon last night. Very impressed with him.
He was brilliant last night when he played really well. He worked hard. He showed why he's there. He's that left side's very strong with him and Rashford. And you realistically, you can't really pick who to start out of them two. Rashford's had a great season with Barcelona, but Gordon, the way he played last night, shows what he's got, what he's about, the pace that he brings. And that's saying, I think I'd say Rashford's probably the better finisher out of the two, but he brings a lot of energy into the side. And I think with the way Kane plays, you've got to be looking for the wingers to be more like Gordon, running off. And because Kane, we've seen with Munich, we saw last night, at times he's picking the ball up in his own 18-yard box and playing it forward, So we're going to need the pace of them players and not so much of the trickery that some of the other players bring, like the Sakas and all that. I think we just got to look at that blistering pace and getting in behind the back line when Kane isn't the focal point of the attack. I think Gordon possibly could have played himself into the starting 11, for the first game.
Yeah, I think even like Bellingham. I mean, I know that he hasn't really played a lot of football. And I think Morgan Rogers has played a lot. He played most of the qualifiers. In fact, I think he played every qualifier. But when you look at Jude Bellingham last night, you can see why he's in contention to start against Croatia. Because if I was to pick my starting 11 now, it'd be Pickford in goal, Reece James right back, Stones and Gay centre backs, and O'Reilly left back.
Yep.
Rice, I'd play Rice, Anderson, Bellingham, Saka if he's fit, Gordon on the left, and Kane up top.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a strong starting 11. Is it an 11 that's going to go and win this World Cup? I don't know. I think we've been a bit stronger in previous tournaments, but look, we've had back-to-back finals in the Euros and we've failed, so I can see why we're one of the favourites, of course, but when you look at the teams like Argentina, weather's going to play a big part in this tournament. So, yeah, it's a difficult one to say. We've just got to get off to a good start. We've got a tough game against Croatia, and then we take on Ghana and then Panama in the final round. And then when you look at the teams that we could potentially face, England's route to the final, we get a last 32, and then if we do reach the quarterfinals, we could end up playing Mexico in Mexico City. Then we could face Brazil in the quarters, Argentina in the semis and then Spain or France in the final. If you're going to win this World Cup, you're going to have to beat the best, and that's what teams do.
This is it, mate, and this is the thing. There, we've been in previous tournaments. We've had a bit of the rub of the green when it comes to draws. We've had the easier routes to the finals and to the semi-finals. This one, if we're going to do it, like you said, unless teams throw up a surprise package, which there's a lot of teams there that could potentially be a bit of a surprise. Don't rule any of the African sides out. Some of them sides are looking really strong at the minute. Like you said, South American sides, especially with the conditions that we're going to be playing in, you can't rule any of them out. Like I said, Brazil, Argentina, usual top sides. Brazil are brilliant at tournament football. Normally, even at times when they've not been great in the qualifiers, they've turned up in the tournaments. Argentina, the holders, it's possible they could do back-to-back ones for me. They're my favourites to go on and win it. But like you said, if you've got to beat these teams at some point. If you're going to do it, you want to do it on your way to the final and your way to winning the tournament. But I think when you look at the midfield, Rice, Bellingham, Anderson is probably one of the best midfields out there. It's a very, very strong, balanced midfield. Bellingham, the fact that he hasn't played a full hard season, like when you look at Rice has had a lot of game time. Bellingham was out for a while injured. He started picking up, to his form. And you saw last night the ball that he played through from Madueke, when he missed that open goal, some of the runs that he was making as well. He is a top player. And when you've got Morgan Rogers sitting there as well, who's had a fantastic season for Villa, I think we're a bit blessed in that position. We've got two players there that will cause teams problems. And it's just getting the right balance of the players playing off of them midfield players.
Yeah, 100%. And as you said earlier, mate, you see Kane drops deep. He's good at that. You see some of the balls he played out last night, especially to Madueke. I mean, what do you make of Madueke? I sort of said earlier to someone, he reminds me of an anorexic Antonio. That's what he reminds me of, because he's got all the touch. He looks good, and then end product. You see it last night. He takes it around the goalkeeper. But he's a player that you never know. He could force a moment in this tournament. Jared Bowen, we obviously love Jared Bowen, but he unfortunately missed out on this World Cup. So we've got to rely on the likes of Madueke and Saka to be out in them wide areas, just like what you said earlier with Gordon and Rashford, and they're the ones that are going to create most chances. So, yeah, it's as you said, the midfield for me. I mean, Anderson, you can see why he's been linked to top teams, for a lot of money. If we can get that balance right, you see Declan Rice last night. There was a lot of difference between last night's game and the game on Saturday against New Zealand. The pressing was a lot better last night. So it's just about keeping them fit, Scott. And then I look around that squad and you look at the players that can potentially come off the bench. As you said, Ollie Watkins, he found a bit of form towards the end of the season. He scored last night. So, but the worry for me is if Kane picks up an injury early on in the tournament, then I feel like we haven't got much options. I know Watkins and Ivan Toney, but Harry Kane is he's world class. He's been unbelievable this season for what he's done with Bayern. And the difference with him this tournament to last tournaments, he's actually coming into these tournaments as a winner. He's now knows what it's like to win trophies. So this could be his last tournament, last World Cup. Sorry, he might make the next Euros, but this could be his last World Cup potentially. So, there's a lot of stake for him.
Yeah, as well with Kane, he looks fresh. You think, again, he's probably benefited from being at Munich, the winter break that they get. He's not been at it as much as he would have been when he was playing for Tottenham. So he's looking a bit fresher, he's looking sharper. The way he plays, the way he's been playing for Munich, and you see the way he played like with last night, like you said, he's a key component. But I just feel that with Watkins and Toney, we've got a different dimension if we need them, But it's a case of, I think, the way we set up is more suited to Kane at the moment with the players that we got. What concerns me is when you look at an Ivan Toney, for argument's sake, the big, strong centre forward, he does know where the goal is. goal scoring wise, he's been scoring them out in Saudi. Yes, it's a lesser league, but he knows where the goal is. Like you said, Watkins coming in, they give you a different balance. For me, it's getting the balance right of the players then around them, because Tony's going to more thrive off of people getting the ball into the box room. He's not going to be looking to do what Kane does. Same as Watkins. Watkins is going to sort of play more on the shoulder. You're not going to get that link-up play, them dropping so deep as Kane does to bring the wingers into play. So the worrying thing that if we were to lose a Kane is then you've got to adapt the system to suit the strikers. The midfield three can play with whoever's going to be playing in front of them. I look at it that way. Rice is the best, one of the best in the world at what he does. Bellingham's one of the best in the world at what he does. And like I said, Anderson for me is that player who's better than Calvin Phillips. That Euros when Calvin Phillips broke in and played alongside Rice and them two literally dominated the midfield. Anderson's an upgrade on that. And if Anderson and Rice and Bellingham can get that chemistry right, that could be the midfield of the tournament, potentially be the midfield of the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about some of the favourites. I mean, you look at the likes of Argentina, France are going to be up there, Spain are definitely up there. As you said, like there's some dark horses in this tournament as well. I mean, Norway in it, obviously with Haaland. There's a lot of teams in there that, as I said, there's a lot of countries in there that are just making up the numbers. I mean, FIFA are being greedy, in there. I mean, we done the sweepstake in work today, and some of the teams that were getting pulled out, I've never even heard of half of them.
Yeah, so, I know.
I'll just, but look, it's good for them. Do you know what? I say that it's good for some of these countries because their fans get to experience what it's like to be at a tournament. And I'm not just talking about Scotland, by the way. Got to get the Scottish dig in we? Come on. But I'm actually looking forward to it. Now it's started. The build up to this World Cup, I've been thinking, do you know what? Late games, because I always like going. I like going down the pub. I like going to watch the games in the pub and really enjoying it. But where they're late kickoffs, like 9 o'clock and 10, it's getting up for work. And I was thinking, fucking, you know what I mean? But now the tournament's here, I'm thinking, we'll deal with that the next day. I can get the train to work. Let me go and enjoy it. Let's go out and watch the boys and hopefully see them win the opening game against Croatia.
That's it, mate. This tournament's an insomniac dream, isn't it? The 2 a.m. kickoffs, that type of thing. You're sitting there trying to sleep and you can't sleep and you just go, boom, World Cup football, It's great. I think really, mate, I think that is the only downside to this tournament. It's crazy to think that Mexico, this will be their third World Cup and the home of football is only ever one.
I was thinking that, like, if we do potentially play Mexico in the quarterfinals, like in Mexico, there's a lot of history in that stadium, especially with England, with the hand of God. It'll be a big test. But look, there's a lot of football to play between then and that game, and there's a lot of these teams that we might not even get out of the group. Some of these teams might not get out of the group. It depends how we adapt to the heat and the weather. You see the weather last night. 1 minute it looks like the game's getting called off. The next minute it looks like a screensaver on a fucking computer. How beautiful and hot it looked. So.
And that's the thing, mate. I think that's the reason why there's going to be a few dark horses, because there are probably teams that are better suited to that climate. They might not be the best team on paper, but as you've seen before, certain teams can adapt to the climate better and cause an upset. England are not going to be able to. We pressed quite high and pressed quite well yesterday, but as the tournament gets deeper and you're looking at them kickoff times and the humidity in certain areas where the games are going to be played. You think that pressing game, you try and go and play that in the humidity you get in Mexico. We've got to be very, very clever in how we adapt, not only to the teams that we're playing, but the environment that we're playing in. It will play a major part. I think I do see a couple of the African sides getting through to the quarterfinals. I think there'll be a few upsets along the way. I think it's going to be a very, very interesting World Cup. I really, really do.
Yeah, no, 100%, mate. And look, there's a couple of other teams that we haven't. Portugal, obviously. You got the Ronaldo factor. They obviously want to do what Argentina done for Messi 4 years ago in Qatar. So, look, it's we love football. It's what we enjoy. So to have a tournament on, it's just disappointing that it is the kickoff times, but look, it is what it is. we've had it before where we've had it like with the World Cups. I think the next World Cup's in Spain and Morocco. I think it's shared between them two. So the kickoff times are going to be better for us. But look, we're all going to be watching. You know, there's people that doubt England, and I get it. You know, I don't know if anyone's watched that Dear England program that was on with Gareth Southgate. Like, it's unreal. Like when you see like the people they got to play the players. Were quite, the bloke that played Gareth Southgate was spot on, to be fair, but it just shows how much they've been building over the last few years. And one thing I want to say, Scott, obviously Thomas Tuchel's in charge. There's a lot of controversy around him being in charge. A German could potentially bring it home for England. What's your thoughts on Tuchel as manager, and what is your thoughts on should it be an Englishman in charge of England, or should it just be the best man for the job?
It should be the best man for the job. It shouldn't matter what nationality he is. Look, there's always going to be that thing. You see Harry Redknapp's comment about he's a spy in the camp and he's there to ruin it all. You know, at the end of the day, Tuchel's been around. He's won things. He's managed at a higher level club-wise than what Southgate has. Southgate, I think we'll see it in this tournament. If we do get over the line, you know, you can see it was the manager, and if we don't, then you can probably sit there and think maybe it's the players, you know, the mental attitude of them. But like you said, now you've got winners in there, serial winners in there now, and you know it brings a lot. But yeah, look, with time will tell with Tuchel. But from what I've seen of him, I like what I'm seeing. Do you know what I mean? I don't think he's in there to cause problems. I think he's in there because his ambition that he wants to succeed. And you've seen other nations go on and do well in tournaments with foreign managers. You know, if you're good at your job, you're good at your job. It doesn't matter about what nationality you are or anything like that. If you're the best at your job, then you deserve the job. And that's how I look at it. You know, time will tell.
Yeah, look, I know I agree, mate. And I wasn't a fan of it at first, but from what I've seen of Thomas Tuchel, you know, I can see, look, there's nothing better to be on a manager's CV than saying you've won the World Cup. So to say you've won the World Cup for England is special because we haven't done that since 1966. It's been a long time since this country's enjoyed any sort of silver. We've never seen it in our lifetime, mate. We've been close in the last 2 Euros, getting to both finals, but we sort of bottled it. And as you said there, now we've got serial winners in our team. You think Kane, Declan Rice, Saka, even Morgan Rogers winning the Europa League, you know, there's a lot of winners in that team now. So it's if they can gel and, you know, look, I don't think we're going to win it. You know, I'll be very, I think we're good enough to get to maybe the semi-finals. And if we can get above that, then you know what, who knows? But it's going to be difficult. But look, we all go into tournaments. We all sit there and say we're not going to win it. As soon as that we win that opening game, everyone gets that little bit of buzz for it. We all sing football's coming home, Vindaloo, World in Motion. You know, you get the buzz for it. And I am actually looking forward to it. It's nice to have a bit of more football on. You know, concentrate. You know, ain't got to worry about West Ham. You know, we've spent all season talking about West Ham. So let's just hope that England do bring it home.
And the thing is, mate, as well, we've got some West Ham interest, don't we? There's a few of our players playing out there, a couple of our ex-players playing out there, some that we'll probably want to see do well, others that we won't want to see do well, you know. But even tonight, Alvarez playing for me, if he's starting for Mexico, you know, we've got a bit of interest to see how he plays. You know.
I was actually, because I've got a soft spot for Mexico, I was actually going to wear my Mexico shirt on here tonight, but I thought, well, I can't ever talk about England. I won't wear it. But yeah, no, I'm. So, what do you reckon, Scott? Do you think we're going to win it, mate?
Can we win it? Yes. Do I think we're going to win it? Probably not. I think we're going to come unstuck in the semi-finals. But we've got the team. We've got a team that can win it.
So who's winning it then? Who's winning this tournament, Scott?
Honestly, mate, I think Argentina. I think they're going to do back-to-back. I really do. I think that, you know, I think out there, I think it suits them a bit more climate-wise. You know, it's not their backyard in the sense of, you know, but it is the Americas. So yeah, I just think that they're going to win it, and I've got them in the sweepstakes. So,
I've got Senegal and South Africa in my sweepstakes. You know when you just draw, I think, what's the point? It's just a tenner wasted there. But look, yeah, it's as I said at the beginning, mate. It's a buzz. So also, obviously, we kick off next Wednesday against Croatia, 9:00 kickoff. How important is it to get that opening day win?
Oh, mate, I think it's massive. I think when you look at our group, I think Croatia are the best team in the group, barring us. Yeah. I think you win that one, it puts you in good stead. It'd be ideal for us to win the opening two so we can rotate for the third fixture. But I think it's massive. We don't always start well in tournaments, do we? We don't always do well in that opening game. But I think it's good that we're playing a side like Croatia, a team that we know quite well because we played them a few times. I think it's a huge, huge thing for us to win that opening fixture. I really do, because I think it'll put us in good stead.
Yeah, I think it's important that we win the opening game and win the group as well. So it's going to be interesting, mate. But look, how long we've got? So what's time now? It's 5:02. The World Cup literally kicks off in 5 minutes. This was just a quick show. Me and you talking about England's chances and all that. So we are going to do a lot more over this World Cup. Nicky and Dan will be joining us over the World Cup as well, doing stuff. So I'm looking forward to it, mate. And I hope everyone in the chat's looking forward to the World Cup. Let's hope England bring it home. It's the first time we've played the World Cup in the USA. We weren't in it in 94. No, I believe that was 28 years ago. That was
mad, mate, isn't it? It is mad. Our time is just flying by. It
is crazy. I remember how disappointed I was when we didn't qualify for that World Cup. And I remember watching it, and you always remember that famous Italy-Brazil final when Baggio missed the penalty. Even worse when Diana Ross missed the penalty in the opening fucking ceremony. But, I'm looking forward to it, mate. And look, we're going to still be doing a lot more West Ham stuff over the summer as well. Obviously, the new fixture list comes out. Is it next week or the week after? So we'll be talking about that. And obviously
we're going to try and get together for a watch along as well if we can. Yeah.
Nicky done a video earlier. He done a transfer daily yesterday. You lads are ancient. Oh yeah, mate. I was born in 84. When was you born, Scott? 82, 81? 1980. Yeah. You are ancient. Well, Graham was born in 1804. So stick with the channel. Subscribe. Give this video a thumbs up. Hype and all that stuff. And we'll be back. We ain't going anywhere, and we definitely ain't going anywhere next season. We're here for the championship. We can't just ride on the glory of the Premier League. We're doing it in the Championship as well, and we're actually looking forward to it.
Honestly, I am. I'm looking forward to next season. Yeah, already.
Yeah, a little bit of a buzz, with the fixtures coming out next week. No VAR next season. No Gary Neville on commentary. Some good London derbies. We might be at the right end of the table. So I think I know we're going on to a bit of West Ham here, but I think Paco said that he's actually staying as well with Nuno next season.
Yeah, it was in. I think interviewing.
That's a huge boost.
Massive. That's massive. Because we looked a different side when he came in. We said this when we sort of spoke at the end of the season about it, but he probably is our signing of the season when you look at it. The difference that we see in the team when he entered the fray. So that's big, keeping him, and he's someone who Nuno's worked with, and this could be interesting. There's a lot of different rumblings coming out of the club at the minute, so this could be a bit of a blessing in disguise if things go the way that we want as fans.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I know there's been a lot of negative stuff come out over the past week regarding our owner. So let's just hope going forward over the next few weeks, we'll have some positive content to bring you through West Ham, because we don't want to talk about negative stuff. It just has to be spoken about. But tonight was talking about England and the World Cup and the chances. But look, Scott, we'll leave it there, mate, because I know you're dying to watch the opening game. And I know all these people in the chat are as well. So, we'll be back some point over the next few days. So, we'll leave it there. As I said, subscribe, like.
We'll try and get
Well,
a video in before the actual kickoff for the England game as well, mate. A bit of a build-up if we can.
Yeah. Next Wednesday, England open their game. Scott, one thing left to say. Come on, England!
Come on, England!